Gold has always demanded a price. Men thought it could be measured in ounces and weighed in pans. But the real price was never written in ledgers. It was taken in other ways, ways no man could prepare for. I have walked through places where stories cling like smoke. I have stood before rivers that swallowed men whole. And I have listened to trees that remember more than any living soul. I am not a miner. I am not a prospector. I am only a keeper of what they left behind. Their legends, their warnings, their unfinished cries. It was the time of fever. They called it the gold rush. Men abandoned farms, families, even reason itself. They crossed mountains and rivers, carrying nothing but hope and steel. The dream of gold lit fires in their eyes, and those fires burned brighter than hunger, brighter than fear. But no fire burns forever, and not all of them returned from where that fire led. A small band of men pressed deeper into the wild than most dared. They followed a narrow river through canyons and pines until the forest thickened and the silence grew heavy. There, by the water's bend, stood a tree, broad, dark-barked, older than any tale they carried. One of them paused, hat in hand, and said quietly, "This tree has seen more than we ever will."
They panned the riverbed, and soon the glitter appeared. Tiny flakes, bright as sunlight trapped in stone. Their laughter filled the clearing, sharp and eager. But the ground gave up more than gold. Half buried beneath the silt were rusted picks, a torn boot, a skull with its jaw broken. The men said nothing, but each of them felt the silence pressing in. They told themselves it was nothing. They kept digging. That night, the first voice came, a whisper across the campfire. One man swore he heard his name spoken low, as if carried on the wind through the branches. Another dreamed of the tree bending low to watch him, its shadow long and heavy. They woke with sweat on their faces and dirt beneath their nails, though none remembered touching the ground. The tree had begun remembering them even before they were gone. Gold does not only live in the earth, it lives in the mind. And soon it took hold of theirs. One scratched at his arm until it bled, certain he had seen golden veins running beneath the skin. Another swore he heard a child's laugh from the river and went searching in the dark. He did not return. The others said little, but their eyes betrayed them, wide, fever bright, and never leaving the soil. And all the while, the tree stood, silent, patient. It did not lure them, nor drive them away. It only held what they gave it, their shouts, their whispers, their last breaths swallowed by the roots. It has never been a judge, nor a savior. It is only a witness, but a witness that never forgets. That group, only one man would walk away from the clearing. He carried no gold, only the memory of what he had seen and the silence of the tree behind him. The others, the earth knows where they rest, the tree remembers how. And I now tell you why. Because the price of gold was never in gold itself. It was always in men.
The man who went into the dark, chasing a laugh that did not belong to the living, was never seen again. They searched with torches, calling his name, but only the sound of running water answered. By morning, his tools were still there. His bedroll was untouched. The forest had taken him, and the tree had remembered how. The others kept digging. The earth gave them more gold, yes, but thinner, sharper, almost like splinters. One man began muttering that the gold was alive, that it wanted out of the soil. At night, he struck the rocks with his pick until sparks flew, until his hands bled. When dawn came, they found him collapsed against the trunk, his chest silent, his eyes wide as though still watching something move in the dark. Another stayed awake too long, refusing to close his eyes. He swore he heard voices chanting under the roots. He clawed at the ground, pulling away dirt, insisting he would free them. His nails tore, his fingers split, and when the others tried to pull him back, he fought them like an animal. In the end, the soil swallowed him faster than they could drag him away. The earth closed over him, and the whispers ceased. And always, the tree remained, unmoving. Its bark carried the cries. Its roots took in the silence that followed. It did not strike. It did not spare. It simply received. That is what it does. That is what it has always done. At last, only 2 men were left. They argued in low voices, one begging to leave, the other refusing to abandon the gold. The fever burned too deep in him. He swung his pick at the other, but the blow never landed. His chest tightened, his breath failed, and he fell to the earth. Whether from rage or from something far older in that clearing, none can say. But the tree remembers the sound of his last curse, a word cut short in his throat.
The last man stood alone. His hands shook, though no fever burned in him now. He looked at the scattered gold, at the tools, at the tree, and he spoke. Not to the sky, not to his dead companions, but to the trunk that towered before him. He asked for mercy, not with tears, not with screams, simply a whisper, carried into the bark. The tree gave no words in return. It does not speak, but it listens. It remembers. And sometimes it allows. That man walked away from the clearing, empty-handed yet alive. The forest did not follow him. The whispers did not drag him back. Only the memory followed. The weight of all he had seen, carried in silence until his dying day. He never touched gold again. They say he grew old in a small town, living quietly, warning those who would listen. Most did not. Few ever do. What with his last breath, he spoke the same words he had once whispered to the tree. Let me go. And perhaps it did. Perhaps it kept only his story. For that is what it does best. So remember this. The price of gold was never in the gold itself. It was in the men who sought it, and the silence that claimed them. The earth still shines with veins of yellow there. The river still carries a glimmer when the sun strikes right. But the tree remains too, waiting, watching, remembering, always.